Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Knit California YouTube channel. My name is Leslie. I am Knit California here on YouTube and also over on Instagram and TikTok. And today we're setting up my 2024 knitting journal. I have been keeping a knitting journal. Yes, they're the same color. I've been keeping a knitting journal since December of 2022. It was about a year ago now. Today's like December 17th. It was about a year ago now that I really got into the idea, and I was like, I need to start keeping a knitting journal now. I couldn't even wait for January 1st. So I set it up and I've been using it ever since. And in today's video, we are going to be setting up my 2024 journal, and I'm very excited about it. My original journal did start out as a knitting journal slash life journal, and midway through the year, a lot of the life journaling habit trackers and stuff like that fell to the wayside. I stopped tracking all of it, but the knitting journal piece really stuck with me, and I have been keeping that going really strong, and so I'm in desperate need of setting up my 2024 journal to make sure that it's ready to go in the new year. I'm going to be setting it up in a slightly different way compared to how my 2023 journal is set up. A lot of the pages are going to be the same. I'm kind of just moving the order of them around a little bit. But yeah, let's get into it. I just want to say first that this is meant to be an inspiration. If you're interested in setting up your own knitting journal, this is not how every single person's knitting journal needs to be. This is just how mine is going to be set up. So I hope you enjoy, and let me show you what I'm planning. Okay, this is my 2024 journal setup. The first few pages I am going to leave blank, and I'll use these for stickers. I found I was collecting a lot of stickers last year, especially from yarn companies, and I love having them in my journal in these front pages and also some on the back pages that I know I'm not going to use. I have been thinking about this new journal setup for a while now, so I already had some notes about pages I may want to include. So I'm starting by writing down the topic of each page on a sticky note and planning out the order of my pages. This was important to me so that I didn't make any mistakes in the order I want once I start drawing the pages out, because ripping pages out of this notebook is not easy. Trust me, I did it in my last notebook and I wish I hadn't. When I was setting up my notebook in 2023, I really had no idea what types of pages I wanted to include and what I would actually find useful. I did a lot of research on Pinterest, TikTok, and Instagram, just looking for bullet journal ideas, and I actually laid out my journal one way with some yearly pages in the front, then saw another idea on TikTok and ripped them all out, starting over with my yearly pages in the back of the journal. My thought was that if I wanted to add any additional yearly pages, it would be easier to do so if they were at the back, because I likely wouldn't completely use up the journal pages and there would definitely be blank pages in the back, compared to if I left them in the front, I may not have any blank pages available. At this point today, for my 2024 journal, I'm mostly confident with my yearly pages, and I'm so happy to be moving them to the front of the journal. The back pages will still be available if I need to add anything extra or to keep whatever notes I need. You can see that it was a really good idea for me to start with these sticky notes because I did make a little mistake and wanted to move some things around, and I was able to do that very easily with the sticky notes compared to if I had just started drawing everything out. The first main page is the 2024 Year at a Glance calendar. I had this spread across multiple pages in my last journal, and it made it difficult to see the whole year at once, so I decided to map this out across 2 pages. There's room beneath each monthly calendar to write down any important dates. I find that I use the calendar a lot at the beginning of the year to help plan out vacations, PTO, birthdays, holidays, and other important dates. And then honestly, like I said, I don't look at it very much throughout the year. So we'll see if this new format of having it all on one page helps me this year. This calendar page is the one that took me the longest to set up, so while I'm getting this done, let me tell you about the tools I use on my journal. Each of these will be linked in the description box down below if you're interested in checking them out. First, the journal itself is one I got from Amazon. I don't think I pronounced it correctly, but it's the Lecterm 1917. I like this one because it has a hard cover and dot grids on the inside pages. A solid grid paper could be useful too, but I really like the dots. Next is a ruler. I've had this one since elementary school, and I'm sure you have your own ruler at home. I also use a pencil to draft out titles or new pages, and a good pen for all my daily notes. The pens I use for outlining and what I'm using to create this calendar right now are called the Pigma Microns. The set I got comes with about 10 pens in all different tip thicknesses. The colored markers and highlighters I used are called mild liners, and they are double pointed with a highlighter tip on one side and a fine marker-like tip on the other side. They also came in a pack of about 12 different colors. Again, I purchased all of these from Amazon, and they are all linked in the description box down below. There are so many different tools, markers, pens, highlighters that different people who use bullet journals use, so make sure you just find something that works for you and that you enjoy. The next page that I'm setting up is my overall project list. I like to see a list of every project I start with the start and finish date. This makes it so easy to see at a glance how many projects I've worked on over the year. I can easily see what is still active or on hold, as it will not have a finish date. Additionally, if I frog a project, I will note that along with the date in the finish section, because technically that means I'm done with it, even though I didn't finish the project. The next page is my yarn purchases and plans page. Have you ever bought yarn and then forgot about what you were planning to make with it by the time it arrives? Yeah, me too. I started this page in my current journal a few months ago, and it has been so helpful. As soon as I make a purchase, if the yarn is slated for a specific project, I will write it down on this log so I don't forget when the yarn arrives in a couple days, weeks, or months later. If you don't buy a lot of yarn to add to your personal stash, or your personal yarn store as I like to call it, then this page may not be necessary for you. The next page is something that I haven't tried before, and the idea came from Rachel is Knitting. This page is going to be called My 2024 Closet, and the idea is to draw or print out little pictures of the knits I complete and have a collage across these two pages by the end of the year. I think it'll be really cool to see all the finished knits in one spot like this at the end of the year. The next page is to track my social media statistics for Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. It took me a little bit to figure out what I wanted this page to look like, but I eventually got it. Instagram and YouTube are the two platforms that I focus on the most. I post occasionally on TikTok, but I'm not invested in growing that platform right now, the same way that I am for the other two. So for TikTok, I just want to track my follower count at the beginning of each month, and I'm drawing this out at the bottom of the page. For Instagram and YouTube, I'm drawing 25 squares to track milestones throughout the year. For example, the next Instagram milestone I can hit is 27K, and the next YouTube milestone I can hit is 4,000. So I wrote those milestones in the first box, and when I reach those numbers, I will color in the boxes and add the date. I'm leaving the rest of the boxes blank so I can decide throughout the year what milestones I want to track and how frequently I want to track them. This is a new way of tracking these for me, so we'll see how it goes, and as you know, I'll always keep you updated. The next page is my bookshelf. Again, I know this is not knitting related, it's reading related, but I have enjoyed tracking what books I'm reading in my current journal and wanted to keep that going this year. On the left page, I'm going to track the date finished, book title, and my rating. I just didn't draw this out yet because I totally forgot. And on the right page, I'm going to draw out a little bookshelf of all the titles I finish, similar to the closet drawing page. The drawing piece is also new to me this year, and I'm hoping I'll enjoy it. Next, I'm leaving 2 full pages blank for a 2024 vision board / goals dump. I've been wanting to do a vision board session for Knit California, and I'll keep all the notes on these 2 pages that I can refer back to throughout the year. I'm really not sure what this will look like yet, but again, I'll keep you updated. These are all the yearly pages that I'm adding to my journal. I'm really excited for them. The next section is the monthly pages, and I'm keeping these the same as what I have been using in my current journal. I made a whole video on these pages a couple weeks ago that I will link in the description box down below. These are the pages that I use on a daily and weekly basis. The first is a bigger monthly calendar where I like to write in one thing that happened each day. Again, I go more in depth into each of these pages in that other video if you want to watch it. The next is my knitswear page to track what knits I'm wearing. Then comes my socials page that I use to keep notes on my brand partnerships and any posting ideas that I have for Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube for the month. Lastly are my monthly and weekly knitting trackers. On the monthly page, I keep track of ongoing and newly started projects, my queue, or anything that I'm intrigued by at the moment. This section seems to vary month to month. I also track projects finished and my yarn acquisitions. On the weekly page, I write down any weekly knitting goals, such as finish the Oslo hat or get through half the body on my current sweater. This is a live page, and if something doesn't get finished in one week, it's totally fine. I just usually move it to the next week. And if I work on something that I didn't originally plan to work on in a week, I just add it in and check it off. It's totally fine. My plan is to keep all the monthly pages together right after the yearly pages towards the front of the notebook. After the monthlies is where I'm going to start the project pages. Every project I start gets its own project page where I track the yarn I'm using, needle size, gauge, and any notes I have while working on the project. I'm going to keep these all together in the middle of the notebook. In my current journal, I have the project pages directly following each monthly section, and I can never remember what month I started a project when I need to go back to look at the notes. By having all the project pages together, I think they will be way easier for me to find and reference any previous projects when I need to. You may have noticed that I didn't completely fill out the headers for most of the pages, and that's because I want to get stickers for the headers and maybe some washi tape to make the yearly pages a bit more exciting, but I don't have that yet. I put some ideas on my Christmas list for some stocking stuffers, so I'm kind of waiting for that. I'll make sure to show that on Instagram and in future videos once it's complete. And that's it. Here is a flip through of the current setup. Of course, throughout the year, I may want to add certain pages, and I may discover that a page I'm setting up now doesn't get used, and that's okay. This doesn't need to be perfect. It's a live document, and it's just for me. I know that was a really quick run through of everything that I'm planning, but I hope it made sense, and I hope you were able to get some ideas if you want to set up your own journal for 2024. Of course, this is not the end-all be-all of knitting journaling. This is just the way that I have found I like to set up my notebook. If you want to copy it page for page, please take this as inspiration and do what you want. If you think this is way too much and you don't want to have any pages similar to this, that's totally fine too. Your knitting journal is for you, and you need to set it up in a way that makes sense for you and in a way that you'll use it. So if this was too much, like, don't listen to any of it. I really hope it can just inspire you maybe to keep a knitting journal in the new year. If you do set up your own knitting journal, I would love to see it, so make sure to tag me over on Instagram. And if you have any questions or anything from any of the pages that I set up today, please leave them in the comments down below, because other people may have the same questions, so I can make sure to answer them down there. That is it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, please make sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you're new over here, subscribe to my channel. I typically make knitting podcast videos where I talk about what I'm knitting on and show you the process, but I am planning on including a lot more knitting journal content in those future podcasts as well. So if that's what you really enjoyed, make sure you stick around. Alright, that's it for today, everyone. I will see you on the next one. Bye!